What's up, world, and welcome to the All Real Show. This is where we discuss issues pertaining to the socioeconomic system and how they relate to everything. Why and how are the fundamental questions. Answer them enough, you get to the truth. I'm your host, Alex, and welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Michael E.V. Knight, where we're going to discuss more insights to our current socioeconomic problems and possible solutions. Okay, so Michael, we know that most things people need, such as food, housing, clothing, etc., is in abundance. And for anyone who doesn't know, you can do the research and find out for yourself. So considering the basic needs of people are in abundance, other than some of the obvious reasons, such as greed and control, why aren't those things free right now?
Well, we could do that now. The reason we can't is because we still have mortgages to pay.
Right. Still
have rent to pay. That's why I tell everybody, to make anything free, we need to make everything free.
Right.
We can't make food free. You know how much food is grown every day? 370-something people. To give it free, now how are they getting paid? Because they still got house bills.
Well, that's the trick. I mean, that's the hiccup right there is, yeah, even if something could, well, everything could be free, but I'm saying even if you made something free or have a company say, okay, we're going to do everything for free because we want to start, right, but then they still need money in this current system, so it's unrealistic.
We could do it on a micro level. You know, if we're growing a ton of extra food, we can leave it out for people, give it to the food bank, stuff like that. But we can't have everybody who grows food no longer receive money because we're giving food for free.
Right.
That's why I say when people don't think things through, like people say, oh, well, food should be free. Well, I agree. Everything should be free, I think. Don't you?
Right.
But we can't just make food free because the people growing the food will no longer get paid. Who's paying them?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we could technically do it by getting rid of the war budget. Dropping it down in half, we'll still have a bigger budget in war than any other country in the world, and we could use that money to pay them for now. So yeah, maybe we could do it that way, but is the government going to do that? As their owners, are the people who control the government going to allow that to happen? Of course not.
Right.
So that's why we can't do it. That's why it has to be people up. Like even the Ubuntu video, it shows you with the mayor down. No, it's still better people up. We tried it with a mayor down. And he has to get approvals from everything, the county, the state, the country, before he could do anything. He couldn't. Our main thing is we can sell our products 20%, maybe even 50% less than any other competing business because we don't have a payroll.
Right.
But he couldn't do that as mayor. He would have got hung up in the middle of town. If the other businesses found out he's selling honey for half the price they're selling it for, meanwhile, they got to pay property taxes, they got to pay employees, they would have hung him up in town.
Yeah.
So he couldn't do the main aspect of the Ubuntu movement. So a mayor is actually useless. I've said right from the beginning for 10 years, we have to do it people up. That's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's how all true change always happened anyway, because the status quo, the ones in charge and in control, they're never going to change it because they're fine, they're in control, they're in power, they have money.
Women fought for how many years to get the right to vote? And yet here we are. We're still financially enslaved with all this voting going on. See, they keep you distracted. While you were fighting about voting, they're screwing you over with the money system.
You know, Michael, that's a key too, I think. And again, can't stress enough how it is 100% the money. And everything else is a distraction. And as I put it, it's misdirected energy. So you take again, like I said earlier, how situations and specifics change, but the ultimate mindset and thought process is always the same. So it doesn't matter what you take. If you take women's voting, gay rights, even now the big climate thing, if you take anything people have protested over the years, free slave, actual like tied up slaves, whatever, and they're like, yay, we got a victory at the end. But the game that created, enabled, and continues is the same. It hasn't changed, and it never changes. So, and when I think about it, sometimes people ask me, what if you could like envision, or if you could, say, what would you like to see? Just imagine if every protest, everyone that you see for the LGBTQ, whatever the letters are, marches and the climate change, everybody was marching and protesting for the same thing, for the exact same thing, for a no money world that we understand.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't have them protest because that's not really going to do much anyway. People go out there and protest one day, maybe on the weekends when the weather's good. Then the cops started arresting them. As soon as people start getting arrested, the crowd starts dispersing pretty quickly. They don't want to get arrested.
Right.
But we don't need that. The secret is just working together. That's all it is. The system has one major flaw. I see it so clearly. It needs us using it more and more. It needs people borrowing more and more money to have more money in the system to keep paying, to keep it going. It cannot go if you and I are sharing. If you and I share a 2-bedroom apartment instead of sharing 2 1-bedroom apartments, we just hurt the money beast. That's how you bring it down. You got to hurt it bad.
Right.
Like my nieces and nephews don't have a car. My girlfriend doesn't have a car. I drive them around in my car. So that's 4 cars we didn't have to buy. That's 4 insurance policies we're not paying for. That's 4 property taxes we're not paying for. That's 4 cars that don't need to be fixed. Just to work on my car, that's it. And I have a friend who lets me borrow his truck if my car's ever being repaired because he has an extra truck just sitting there.
Right. Well, yeah.
That's how you starve a beast.
Exactly. And let me just say real quick about the protesting. I agree. I do. First of all, I feel like it's begging. It's saying, hey, you people, please do this.
You have the power.
Right.
Please change it for us.
Right. So I actually agree with you 100% on that. I kind of just, again, use it as a mindset sort of stance. Like if everybody thought the same, you can't ignore it. Kind of like the.
Well, things we could do. Obviously, we could protest, but it has to be organized.
It's organized.
Or if
right.
everybody just stopped doing stuff, like some people call for a general strike. Okay, well, what happens if they turn off the utilities? What happens when there's no more gas going to the gas stations? See, nobody thinks ahead. How's the food going to get to the markets for us to eat? You can't just stop everything. It's impossible.
Right.
So you cause them a little pain for a day or two, and then what happens is the people hate you. They're not on your side. You stop them from getting to work. You just hurt them from getting a day's pay. Now
exactly.
They might their rental house or their house or pay their mortgage or lose their car. So you're hurting them. So you're not helping. So it has to be organized. Sure, if we all agree there's a whole country of people other than the government and the thugs, here's what we're going to do. The people that are still growing food, you're going to keep growing food. We'd have to basically get rid of, in some way, put them in jail or something, the people who currently own those big farms, big ag, because they're going to say, oh, no, this is my property. You can't just run it on your own. See, that's another thing. Look at back the billionaires. They used to bring in the cops to kill people when the employees were on strike.
Yeah. Well, something just kind of a side note on that, I think is interesting, as simple as it seems, but John Spritzler, the other guy I interviewed, he made an interesting point that the military is for the country, is for Americans. See, so that's who they essentially are trained and taught to defend, whereas cops are trained and taught to defend the law, which I know they can kind of go hand in hand, but so as far as like, hearts and mind campaign and swaying opinion and getting people on your side and those kind of things, I just thought that was an interesting thought. Because I kind of lumped it into general, kind of like you. Well, authority, cops, military, whatever, they will use to control, and of course they will. But I don't know. I just think that's interesting that, they are trained to defend essentially different ideas,
For example, I have a Facebook friend. I won't mention his name. He did a protest. He was just sitting there holding a sign. He got arrested for it. He's now facing 2 years of jail, potential jail term. So would I recommend people just go out and protest? I say no.
No.
Let's work together. Let's stop going to Dunkin' Donuts for coffee. You can still buy Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Just make it at home. Buy it at the supermarket. Don't buy it at the Dunkin' Donuts franchise. Buy it at the supermarket. Take it home, make it at home. Now, if everybody stops going to those Dunkin' Donut shops, what's going to happen? They're going to close down.
Right.
Any business, including the banks, will close down when they're not being used. It's that simple.
Yeah. And in general, to cover all aspects of that too, I think it's a minimalist mindset.
Oh, yeah, that's what I have now.
Right.
I used to want the same thing. I was brainwashed. I wanted a mansion. I wanted a yacht. I wanted all that stuff.
Right.
Look at me now. I'd be happy in 100 square feet as long as there's a community bathroom and kitchen I can eat in. I'm all set.
Yeah. Well, again, it's experience, and I've been homeless before, more than once actually, and I tell people with all sincerity, that was some of the happiest times of my life. It's really crazy, but it's because I felt totally free. I didn't feel any chains of servitude or any, anything. I was totally free. Granted, I was a little younger, body wise, could handle it. And I had a couple friends, but even my friends would say, hey, man, come stay with me tonight. We know you got no place to go. And that, I think, was a little foolish pride on my part that I said, no, I'm going to go sleep in this train that's, not moving, or, those types of things, which is what I did. But in my mindset, I felt totally free. I've never felt that free before. But I've always been, I guess, partially because of that, but in general, a minimalist, because you realize the material isn't where it's at. It's not what matters. And kind of like Jim Carrey, the actor, he's had a very spiritual awakening, and, I don't really fully follow or keep up with anybody like that, but I've seen a few things from him, and that's what he says, that, he wishes everybody could become rich and famous, to find out that's not the answer. That's really not where it's at. Like, you still are you. You still, yep. Your life is everything, and the material is really nothing. It's,
in one way, you become more enslaved when you become famous. I mean, I've seen stars that say they will not leave the house. They have to have 4 or 5 people security around them just to go to the store. That's how crazy it is.
Yeah.
And what kind of life is that?
Right. Well, of course, if you're famous as far as your face, yeah, that's the enslavement like that. And if you're just rich and not famous by your face, you're still more enslaved, because, like they say, more money, more problems, and
well, people will sue you. If they know you got money, they will sue you.
Well, right. You become a target, and, for individuals like that, and for businesses, and, everybody else trying to get a piece of you, basically.
Again, that's a money system problem.
Right.
In a no money system, they wouldn't be trying to sue you.
Well, right. You would just have a general, the answer is just, like we said, it's just as simple as understanding we're all here. We all are born onto this planet. Nobody has any more or less right than anybody else.
How can anybody be illegal on the planet they're born on?
That's amazing to me, right? I know.
Again, we're back to the money system. The
right.
question everybody I see that complains about it is, how can we afford them? And I'll write on some posts, is that all you're concerned about, the cost? Because I know how to handle that. We get rid of the cost. We work together in one-day work weeks, and we get all our needs met at zero financial cost. There you go, problem solved. Was that the real problem? Or are you a bigot or something? Or racist? What's the real problem here? Is it only the money? I just told you the solution. So what's the problem now?
Yeah, and even talking about that, man, it's amazing to me that several people I've been in conversations with that about in general, about building the stupid wall, which of course is more division and separation. That to me immediately, I don't even have to know most things about most people, because certain things will essentially define your overall logic. So if you say we need to build a wall to stop these people who are picking up their families and fleeing, who in their right mind is going to do that? And you're not talking 10 people. Thousands of people are doing this. There's clearly some issue. So if we're so caring, loving of a nation, but then you turn around and say we're going to build a wall to keep these people out, immediately, dude, what are you talking about? You need to go. Well, that doesn't even make sense what you're saying.
Well, again, they're brainwashed. See, I don't get mad at them. I
No,
don't
I
yell
don't
at
get
anybody.
mad.
I don't get in an argument with anybody because I was brainwashed too.
Right.
You know, if that person was different than me, stay away from them. Okay, that's how I was brought up. That's all we knew. We didn't have a person of color in my neighborhood till I was in my teens.
Yeah. Well, it's important what you just said because I have to, I check myself all the time. I really do. And this is what I tell people several times throughout the day. You have to just stop, take a breath, put things back into perspective, think, okay, I know this is BS. I know, this is, you really just regather yourself. And that's something that I do pretty often. Like you said, is if I get frustrated with people or situations or, feeling like people are this way or that, I think, wait a minute, I was lost, man. We're still lost in a lot of ways.
Right.
We don't know anything when you really get down to it.
Well, even not being lost, we add to the harm of the whole world. Just me driving my car to take my niece and nephew to their jobs miles away hurts the environment.
Right.
But I can't afford at this time to go spend $50,000, $60,000 just to get an electric car. That money's better used somewhere else. Like I said, I gave $10,000 to No Money World charities. I haven't had an income in over 10 years.
Wow.
I made some money as a real estate investor. I didn't become Donald Trump rich, but I made enough money to survive, and I live a minimalist lifestyle. So.
Right. Well, the minimalist is not only important for, of course, for expenditures as far as using up resources and those things, but it's also, that's another thing that I was touching on earlier about it never ends. You always, always, always need more money, even if you so-called own something. So one of the kind of tricks is to be a minimalist because, the more you spend, the more you need, obviously. So the less you spend, the less you will need. It's
right.
It's actually that simple. So, as a matter of fact, I was talking to a friend of mine's kid. This was about a year or so ago, and I drive a, decent car or whatever, and they were saying something, they're kind of a younger kid, and they were asking me about, I don't even remember, some fancy Mercedes or something, and I said, yeah, but it's just a car, man. It just gets you wherever. That's the whole point. It's the transportation. I said, I could buy one, but why? And they were like, you can buy one. Why don't you buy one? And I said, for what? For what? I have a car.
Who am I trying to impress?
Right. The whole point of the car is to get me from A to B, to get me around. That's it. I have it. I don't need anything else. I don't need, you have a roof, you have some clothes, and the truth too. The only thing of clothes I have bought in the last, anybody, my family and stuff will vouch for this, that I've bought in the last, I don't even know, man, 5, 6, 7 years is socks and underwear.
That's what I get.
because for like birthday or Christmas, when you get older, that's what people do. They give you a pair of pants or a shirt or something, and I'm like, I only need 5 or whatever of these. I just change them. I wash. What are you talking about?
I still have clothes from over 10 years ago I've never worn. They still get tagged on them.
Oh man!
Recently gave them all to my nephew. They're just sitting in my closet, not using them. It's a total waste. Why would I even buy any more?
Right. Yeah.
Plus, I'm a t-shirt, sweatpants kind of guy. I don't need to be dressed up. I found every time I dressed up, being a real estate investor, I get dirty. I have a nice sweater on, go check underneath the house, rip the sweater. Well, that was a waste of money. Whereas if you rip a $5 t-shirt, you don't care.
Right. Yeah, and kind of like the more money, more problems thing. That's another thing. The nicer, more expensive you have, not only the more you're going to pay to insure it or protect it or fix it if it breaks, but
look at property taxes. If you own like a $2 million house, there's people paying $25,000 a year just in property taxes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's somebody's annual salary if they're lucky.
Right. And just like you're saying now, I had a conversation, this was years ago. I was renting a basement. The owner owned several homes, so he understood some of the game, and we used to talk sometimes. And one of the things he said that stuck with me was similar to what you said. He said, the part of the trick is everybody lives within their means instead of below. Like if you make $20 an hour, you pretty much will live like you make 20 an hour. If you make 100, you will live like you make 100. You won't live like you make 20. That's how most people do it. But that's, like I was trying to explain a minute ago, that's part of the catch. Because then if you're living like you make 100, you're always going to have to live like that or change your way of living. There's no way around it. But if you, now obviously this is hard if you make 8, 10, or even 12 an hour or whatever, because that is just basically cover your living expenses. But I don't make that much an hour, but I just wised up with some of the stuff that, I'm mentioning, and got smarter about it and got even more minimalist and those types of things. And that's how I was able, after a couple of years, to now just work a couple days a week at my slave jobs where I can focus on other things, that really matter to me. So it's mindset, man. Like you said, that's kind of the theme here.
That's it. That's the root of it, the mindset. Like right now, we could be building tiny homes, say 300 square feet for single people. They would cost us about $20,000 to $25,000. We use some reclaimed materials. We could sell that for $50,000 to somebody, and that's still a great deal because I've seen them at 75, over 100,000 even. So we build one, we sell it, we get 50. Well, now we get the money to build two. So we build two, we sell one, we keep one for our group. So now you get the first house, you're living in it. Now you have no rent to pay. The money to pay for the land taxes is coming from the sale of the tiny homes. So we got another 25,000. We build another one. Build two more. We get to 50,000. We save another one. Now I got a tiny home to live in for free. We sell one. And we just keep doing that. And once we have enough for our group, maybe the next town of people doing the same thing. Hey, all right, we'll handle building the tiny homes. We'll build you about one every 2 weeks. And maybe they're bringing us food every day.
Right.
Like some people think, we talk about one small town, they think we have to build car factories. No. You understand? We're still using money during the transition.
Mm-hmm.
It's not we're going to build a car factory. We're going to build a refrigerator factory. We're going to build a dishwasher factory. We're going to build a motorcycle factory. We're going to build a truck factory, a bus factory. We're going to have our own farms. It's not what it's about. This is the transition.
Right.
That's all it is. We're going to work together. And like I said, say Fort Bob is, like I said earlier, now you got 3 vacant places because they're all working out of one place. Well, now the people that own those things are still paying taxes, insurance. They might have a mortgage on it. They're probably going to lose them. People are going to financially get hurt during the transition unless all of us all at once decided to do the transition together.
Right.
Otherwise, they have to get hurt. I've had people say, well, I don't know if we should do a farm. My friend owns a farm down the street, and he's not interested in joining our group. I really don't want to hurt him financially by undercutting him by 50%. I said, well, that mindset is what's keeping us enslaved.
Right.
You're
exactly.
so worried about him making it that you don't care that the rest, that all of us, including him, are enslaved by money.
Right.
He has to get hurt, but we're not screwing him over. Once he gets hurt and he's about to lose his farm, hey, Johnny, you come work with us now. Your farm's going to belong to the whole group, the community. We're going to make the payments on the mortgage. We'll take it from the money we've been making. Now the whole group owns that farm. We put some tiny houses up on his farm. The people who live in those tiny houses for free, maybe they're helping out on the farm. Maybe they're helping out at the bakery or something else.
Yeah.
So nobody gets hurt unless they choose to.
Right. I know what you mean.
Again, we go back to mindset. The farmer, he doesn't want to do the co-op type thing. Wait a minute, this has been in my family for 50 generations. So I'm going to run this land myself till I die. Well, that mindset is keeping us all enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
That ownership mindset, thinking you own that 100 acres of farm, keeps us all enslaved.
Right.
If someone comes on your farm because of that mindset of ownership, you shoot them and you legally get away with it. All because of the money system and this fake idea of ownership. I ask people, what bird owns what tree? Explain this to me. What squirrel owns what tree? And they look at me like I'm crazy. I said, well, why does man have to decide that this is mine? Now, you would still have a house that you live in. That doesn't mean I could just come walking in off the street and say, hey, this is mine now.
No, of course
Just
not.
like a rental house. If you're renting a house, you don't own it. I can't just come in off the street and say, this is mine now. We're not Columbus, you know what I mean?
It's collective ownership to where it's essentially owned by the people, the world, so to speak.
Usership. We use the word usership instead of even ownership. So sometimes, say you want to move to Europe. You just pack your stuff. You get on the computer, be like an Airbnb type site.
Exactly.
Okay, I want to go to Switzerland, in this town in Switzerland. What's available? Okay, I want to take that one. Reserve that for me. I'll be there in a week. Now you list the house that you were just using. Hey, I'm leaving this house in a few days. Anybody who wants it, it'll be up there on the thing, and there'll be a management company, not even a company, but a group of people who manage the real estate of the town. And they say, okay, we got that vacancy. So when someone comes, hey, we got a nice house over here you can move into. The guy's just leaving now. That's all it is. You don't have to worry about selling the house. You don't have to worry about making 2 mortgage payments, paying taxes on both, keeping the heat on because you don't want the pipes to freeze, causing $20,000 worth of damage. I mean, life is so much easier without money.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's like night and day. And, that's, again, when you understand it, that's why you kind of just,
the other thing to go back to mindset again is just because things that cost no money doesn't mean everybody gets a car. Right now, there's 1.2 billion vehicles on the planet. Well, just because things are free, does that mean all 4 billion adults could each have 10 cars? No. Environment, again, is the foundation of everything. If we don't have that as the foundation, the plan's going to fail. So that's what we have is community transportation. We'll have 15 passenger vans. We'll have buses. They could be electric if we want. And there'll be people who drive. I'll drive. I'll gladly drive people around. I'll drive it a few days a week. Believe me, you get bored. When I go on vacation for a week, I'm bored after the first day.
Right.
Okay, yep, mountains, yep, okay, water, yep, okay, now what? I'd rather be doing something than just be on vacation.
Well, yeah, that's true of most people. Again, that's one of the myths, one of the lies about money is that it's the motivator when in actuality it's the inhibitor. It doesn't motivate people to get up and be a slave for 5 days a week. It forces them to.
That's right.
It diminishes all your other aspirations and interests and things like that because you're like, damn, I don't have any time to do this stuff.
There could be cashiers in the world right now that could be solving diseases.
Exactly.
But they didn't have the money to go to school.
And, school is another one to me where it's, again, I just try to attribute it to people haven't woke up or caught up enough or whatever. But with the advent of technology, think about this. Even you have people who are what I call the rightest of the right within the box, like Bernie Sanders. He is about as good as you can get thinking within the box. But even him and all these people are saying free community college and, get rid of some of the student debts and these types of things. Well, wait a minute. Why wouldn't you just say all education is free? You don't need, if I have 50,000 or 100 or however much these so-called prestigious colleges cost, and I have a friend of a friend that gets me in, well, then I can go to Harvard or MIT or any of these things and learn from a professor standing in a room talking to 50 or 100 of us. But you could video record that same professor saying the exact same shit.
That's right.
And every single person who wanted to watch it and learn could do it for free.
Right. Well, again, there's more people available for jobs now because we don't need as many teachers.
Well, you don't need as many teachers. You don't need as many big, huge campuses and buildings that are using.
Won't need any of them.
Right. Right. This professor could literally sit in his damn bedroom or his office and do the exact same teaching that he's doing now. And every single person who wanted to learn it could learn it for free. And it's amazing to me. It's asinine for people not only understand that, but understand how much better this would be. If you want to learn how to do some, well, that's going to be more beneficial to me. That's going to be more beneficial to society. Why would I want to hold you from that? Maybe
like some people said school should actually pay the student. Because if I'm training to be a nurse or a doctor, well, obviously you need me as a nurse or a doctor.
Right.
So why shouldn't you be paying for my education to become the nurse or the doctor?
Right. Yeah, well, because of course what you're, believe, hey, I got to pay these people because they're doing me a favor. They're teaching me, but yeah, then what do? You go out and you become productive member of society. So now you're helping society as a whole, and you're still left with all these debts because you want to help people.
And again, we go back to make anything free, we have to make everything free.
Exactly. Well, you said it a couple of times, but you're exactly right. And that's sort of the catch, obviously. It's kind of like the transition because you're right. Everything has to be free for anything to be free, because you can't have this professor, for example, doing this for free, because then how is he going to survive? How is he, in this monetary system?
Yep. And what about all the professors that lost their job now because he's teaching the whole world?
Well, exactly. Right. So that's why everything essentially has to be free, for anything to be free. But knowing that it not only should be, but can be very easily, at least
back to mindset. It's all mindset again.
It's mindset, right? It is. And
I'm ready for a no money world. Another thing about mindset, we were talking about the cars, not each having our individual cars anymore. I mean, no one likes cars more than me. Go to my page and look at my photos. I like muscle cars.
Yeah, so do I, man.
I don't have one, and I gladly go look at them in a museum just to have a better world. Like that song Imagine by John Lennon. That's like my theme song. Everything he said in it, that's a seed that got planted into my head at least 1,000 times because I liked that song so much. I kept listening to it since it first came out. Even now, I listen to it once a week.
Right.
But going back to mindset now, we also got to look at houses. Just because they're free, everybody has a 2,000 square foot house. Well, we have to cut down trees, not to make the house, but to make your yard. Oh, well, everybody wants an acre. So we're going to cut down an acre of trees for each family and destroy the environment because of their wants.
Right.
You need housing. You don't need a 2,000 square foot house unless you got 20 people in your family. Fine, that's fine. I'll do that.
Exactly, Michael. And that's where the same way people are forced to conform and do things now. You're like, well, I don't want to pay this tax, but if not, they're going to do this and this and this. That's essentially how it would be in a transitioned world. Yeah, you might want, a mansion but hey, you know what? When you realize I'm living in this place, I have everything I need, that becomes secondary, and you'll realize this is what I have to do. I can want this, but the same way you're forced to pay taxes now, you essentially would be forced to go along with the common good,
Well, like I said, go live in the woods by yourself, build a log cabin. Nobody's going to bother you. No government, no nothing. And live, if that's what you enjoy. There's a guy out in Alaska that did that for decades by himself. I mean, I couldn't live by myself. I like being alone, but not all the time.
Yeah, I know
not
what
for
you
20,
mean.
30 years.
No. He'd have some crazy thoughts. He'd be, instead of Wilson, you'd have, I don't know, Tree, somebody.
Well, if you had a dog sharing your life, it might be okay.
Something. You would need some interaction, and that goes without saying. Humans are like that. I mean, we're definitely social creatures that, we know we need these things, and we thrive off of it. And this might be a whole subject, maybe not to start on now, but, again, the brain and what we've discovered with that, and how they can, put the prodes on your brain, see how it works, how it fires. That's how you know truth too. Like I was saying, it's not altered. It's not, there's no reasoning behind it. If you think this and it fires here, that's what it means, and we just know that we grow, individually, spiritually, whatever, when we have cooperation and interaction and those types of things. And of course, everybody's different, right? Some people don't want to interact that much. Some people want to live in the woods, It's not to say that if we transition to this type of society that everybody would be a cookie cutter. I mean, hell, again, if anything, now that's the way that it is. Now everybody is cookie cutter because they're forced into the cookie cutter. Mm-hmm. The only thing we're talking in general is the uniformity of providing and those types of things, not how people will act. And you still have people with different wants, needs, desires, and that will be embraced.
Well, the transition's the hard part. Once you go 80 years into the transition and everybody prior to that has grown up in the no money world, from that point on, it's a whole different world because you have nobody around that remembers a money world.
Exactly. And, you saying that, of course, you're totally right, man, and that's the way it would be. And the thing that always comes to mind when I think of that is the end of one of the Zeitgeist movies where it shows the teacher talking to the kids, and he's using like the 3D animation or whatever, and it shows the child looking at the dollar bill in the plastic. And, as though that's history. Like, And that's what's crazy when, when you think about it, when, hopefully, if, whatever it happens, and society looks back, they will say, what the hell was wrong with those people? What about that system was fair, just, or anything?
It goes back to brainwashing, though. I mean, I was under that spell before 10 years ago. That was the spell. But I always wanted to help people. That was the conflicting part.
Right.
I want to help people. Okay, how do we solve poverty and inequality? Well, what do they need? Well, based on my knowledge at the time, they need money. Well, how do you get money? You either work at a job or you start a business. So we're going to have to start businesses for these people so they'll have jobs. Then the environment side of me kicks in. Well, what about the environment? If we have all these people and all these businesses, we're going to be cutting down more trees, using up more resources, destroying the planet. Well, that doesn't work either. Something's wrong here. And I could never figure it out.
Right.
But that's why I kept wanting to do it. I said, sounds crazy, but maybe, like my friend said, there might be something here. And then about an hour and a half into it, it finally hit me. Oh, my God. It was the root of all our problems right there in that video.
It is, man. It is. And exactly like you just said, that's what I struggled with for years. Of that, I care. I do. I'm a caring person. I care about everything. I care about animals being abused. I care about, kids not eating. I care about I care about anybody suffering or hurting. But there's seemingly so many problems. Where do you start? Which one do you pick? If I go to the ASPCA, which again is business and corporation, but if I go to try to help an animal, well, okay, I feel good about that. But then I look at all this other suffering and I'm like, and so I was in the same sort of limbo of, it's not that I didn't want to help. It was the exact opposite, but I didn't want to misdirect my energy. And so what do you focus it on? What's the best thing to achieve the biggest result? And exactly like you, Michael, when I finally put the pieces together and I had the true awakening, I realized there is only one answer. There is one answer that does solve all 99% of the problems. And that is the money. That is the money system and the way that it works and operates and how we all live by it. And
there's a saying, if there's dead bodies floating down a river and you're focused on the problem of getting those dead bodies out of the river, no one's focusing on why are there dead bodies coming from up the river?
Yeah, right.
See, we're all stuck taking the bodies out of the river down here. Meanwhile, money is throwing them into the river.
Right. Exactly. You have to get to the root cause, like I said, the how and the why. Interchangeably, one or the other, those are the fundamental questions. So the same thing, if you look at any problem, whether it be bodies floating down a river or, people being exploited or land being exploited or whatever the case, wars, if you ask how and why enough times and you can answer it, and then, okay, you got this answer. Well, how or why is that like that? How or why is that like that? Eventually you get to the truth every single time. And the truth always is, it's because of the money in one way, shape or form. It's always because of that. And
exactly.
So, yeah, man.
Even like another thing people say, we'll use cryptocurrency to transition. Well, that's still not going to work. There's one way it could work. I'll explain that next. But right now, if you say you're using Bitcoin, how do you get Bitcoin? Do they just give it to you free?
Right. You have to purchase
it. You have to use regular slave money to buy this new slave money. That's also just created out of thin air. They make a big thing out of it, but they're only going to create so much of it. Whoopie-doo. So you're telling me already that Bitcoin will not solve the world's problem because you're only creating so much of it.
Right. It's limited on its growth if that's the case.
Now, if I want to pay, even if the bank accepted my Bitcoin, I have to earn Bitcoin. I still got to work 40 to 80 hours a week at 2 or 3 different jobs to pay my bills with Bitcoin. Not only that, it's just helping us get used to a cryptocurrency, which then the government will come in and say, okay, now there's a one world cryptocurrency that you all have to use.
Right.
Any business found using any other type of cryptocurrency will be fined millions of dollars. And after 1 or 2 times that happens, guaranteed no business will accept cryptocurrency other than the one world currency.
Exactly.
What's that saying? I saw the problem. It was us. It's so true. Now, the one way it could work is if we create our own currency. And there is a group doing that. They're working, two groups actually working on it. Now, if we can get that currency accepted like normal money, well, we make it out of thin air, we make billions of dollars of it, and we go buy up a whole state because it's accepted as currency. They're accepting our money. We buy up the whole state.
Mm-hmm.
And we all come and live in there now. But we need the people. Without the people with the mindset, again, we just own a whole state. There'd be 20 of us in a whole state.
Talk about land.
It'd be nice. But we still have to buy stuff. So now we got all this land. We need more cryptocurrency. Keep making more of that fake crypto so we can buy our products we need. I mean, it's just such a scam when you look at it.
Right.
As long as we're doing it, I'll play along with the scam. If we can buy up a whole state with the money, I'm all for it.
Right. Yeah.
In a town, let's buy up one town and get 100 people in there. Hey, come in. It's free, but you have to work the 1 day a week doing what the community needs. If you're going to sit around smoking pot, cigarettes, and that's all, and you don't want to work, don't bother coming.
Right. Right. Yeah, and some of those ideas, technologies, like the blockchain, the crypto, and even UBI, the basic income, those maybe could be used in some form of transition, or have good points about them that could be utilized. Those types of things, but ultimately, you're right, and I agree. It's almost like if we're playing the game of Monopoly, using Monopoly money, and then you say, hold on. Instead of using Monopoly money, we're going to use rocks now.
That's right.
Well, okay, but the game's the same. Nothing changed. You just changed the way that, we think about what we're, but yeah, it's.
Now, time banks are a good transition method because now the mindset is the doctor's hour is worth as much as the guy who cuts the grass's hour, or the barber's hour, or the baker's hour. We're saying that's equality of value of time. So that's part of the mindset we need. So I can see that. But Ubuntu is 10,000 times better because with a time bank, you give an hour, you get an hour. With Ubuntu, you give 8 hours a day, you get back, say there's 1,000 people helping in town, you get back the equivalent of 8,000 hours available to you. The people who are making the bread, the people who are making pastry, the people making pizza, the people cooking food, the people growing food, people making clothes, people making shoes, people giving the haircuts, people giving yoga classes. All of that is available to you at no cost.
Right.
Versus the one-on-one where I go to the dentist, he does an hour of cleaning my teeth, and then he gets an hour. Now he gets his house painted for 1 hour. See, it's on the way. That's the best of the transition methods I've seen, other than getting to Ubuntu and the hybrid money, no money sharing lifestyle. So anybody in that lifestyle, when they say doctors won't do it, there are doctors and dentists already in time banks. So you're telling me it won't be done yet. People are doing it.
Right.
When they made the first car, nobody thought a human would ever have a horseless carriage until it was made. Now there's 1.2 billion vehicles on the planet. People saw, it's easier to drive the car than walk 10 miles. Or to get my horse. I got to feed the horse every day. I got to take care of him, clean him. It's easy to just have a car.
Right.
And that's why we have cars now. And that's what's going to happen with this. We need the right people, though, with the right mindset. And the money system even hurts us with this. Because if you and I get in an argument, we both know we have the money system to fall back on where I can just go get a job and get my money that way instead of working together in a community.
Right.
The money system is the best slave control system. I give whoever invented it credit.
Yeah.
They did an amazing job.
They sure did.
I couldn't have come up with this.
Yeah, I agree, Michael. Yeah, it is the most controlling and enslaved form of control that's ever been done.
While people believe they are free, that's the key.
Right.
I grew up believing I was free the whole time I was enslaved by money.
Yeah,
enslaved by money. There's two kinds of freedom. There's the mental freedom and the financial freedom, getting away from money, not getting rich. Back then I was tied up. I was a slave to both money and my mind. Now my mind is free. I live in both worlds now. I live in the capitalist and the no money world. I see it so clearly. I see the transition so clearly. The only thing I don't see is that final step. What are the thugs going to do on that final step? Because we can collapse money in a little town, another little town here, another little town. Once it gets big enough, what are they going to do? That's the thing we don't know yet. But if you live in fear, you're not going to do nothing, and we'll never get there, and we'll just stay slaves. So.
Right. And you can't turn away from the truth. I mean, when you know the truth, it's,
They're going to shoot you. They're going to be like Kennedy. I said, They shoot me, they shoot me. I cannot go around lying anymore. Once you know the truth, how can I go about telling you a lie? No, really, seriously, you should just keep using money, people. Really. Don't worry about it. So what enslaves you?
Yeah, well, kind of summing up what you were saying right now about that, and of course the mindset in general, I do think that that's ultimately what it's going to take is a more collective mindset, because there is strength in numbers, and it's kind of like the saying, no army of the world can stop an idea whose time has come. You can't deny the truth. You can't. You can deny a lie all day. It's kind of like I tell people, if you're talking with somebody and say they're telling you a bunch of BS about, this or that, the money or whatever, and then if you come back to them with truth, no matter how they respond, even if they respond with a lie or with fakeness or whatever, you still just got truth back, because now that shows you more of their mindset and who they really are, type of thing, and so I ultimately feel, there's physically, of course, there's a bunch of things that need to be done and those types of things. But ultimately, I do believe it's mindset and awakening, because
going back to mindset again. I had a guy say to me, "You say there's no such thing as property ownership." He says, "Oh yeah, try and come on my property and see what happens to you." I said, "So what you're really telling me is might makes right, because you own a weapon, and if I step on your lawn, you're going to shoot me," basically, is what he's telling me when I'm saying it. Might makes right. So what Columbus did was right. Might makes right. What the money system, people who control the money system are doing is right, because might makes right. No, it's not right.
Not
You'll
at
still
all.
be there. I can't come in your house. Maybe I'll be walking on your property. I don't think we should even have fences or walls, unless we need them to hold up a certain amount of ground or something. But other than that, why are there fences everywhere? The animals are on this planet too. They have usership of this planet. They have a right to walk everywhere, just as we do.
Right.
Thugs think we don't. But, I make a joke about Trump's wall. Are they going to arrest the birds to fly over the wall? They won't arrest the birds, but yet they'll arrest a human being. And this is crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
Once you finally get it, and as soon as I learned that the money system was a scam, as soon as I accepted it, I saw all the scam, everything about it.
Right.
Everything. I saw it all so clearly. I saw how politics was a scam.
Yeah, it is like a domino effect, right?
It's everything. It's the root.
Right. Yeah, it is. It really is. And you do, like you said, man, you see how everything is tied in together, tied in with it. And it's kind of strange even still, because, like I said, I think people in general, like I used to be, understood a lot of the pieces of the puzzle. So they understand this is bad, that's corrupt, and in some ways they may still even understand that, yeah, well, it's because of the money or this or that. But you definitely have to do some research, investigation, listening, opening your mind yourself, but once you do get it, everything falls into place and you really see how it all ties together. And just to kind of sort of finish where we started here, that I know there's a lot of good documentaries and those types of things, but I can't personally, express enough how important I think the zeitgeist was and is for so many people. I know a lot of people that I'm in contact with that.
Zeitgeist of denim is the more important one, not just the first zeitgeist. First zeitgeist was a little strange. I didn't really like it. I wasn't even going to watch the second one when my friend sent it to me. I said, well, that first one was kind of strange, but because they both said it'll help you help people, I watched it.
Right.
But I wasn't going to watch it after having watched the first one.
Yeah, because the first one tries to basically tackle, all the major social constructs. It starts with religion, of course, and goes to conspiracy sort of things, and then it does hit the money, but yeah, actually I tell people the same thing. That I think might be sensitive to religion, or, something that might turn them off. Because again, like I said earlier, the whole goal is to reach people and communicate, So if I think something is going to turn them off and they're going to shut down, I say, I'll leave that out. Look at this thing. And
I agree to everything they say. Whatever they say, I say exactly. And also.
Yeah. Well, people like to feel right, Yeah.
Like they talk about voting for Bernie. Yeah, that's great. Bernie's the best one out there running right now. Now, if only Bernie would install promises 1-day work weeks with all needs met at zero financial cost, we'd be all set.
Right.
And they would put up the video and people go watch it, and about once a week I'll say, wow, that's amazing. I never thought of that. See, another thing the money system did was took away our self-responsibility. Because if you go back in time, our ancestors and the tribe they were in, they all grew the food together. But money allowed us now to have slaves grow the food. We don't have to grow food anymore. I actually have people tell me now, well, I don't want to grow food in a no-money world. So that's why they want to keep money so they don't have to grow food. And I say, so you're better than other people? You think other people should grow the food that you need to live? Who needs the food to live? You, right? So who should grow the food? Me? I should grow your food that you need to live. Why is that? Why do you think that way? And they can't answer me because they're going to be admitting they're egotistical. They think they're better than me, and they won't do that. Their heart won't allow them to say that. Even though their mind wants to say it, the heart tells them, don't admit that you're actually egotistical and you think you're better than him.
Yeah, and again, a lot of people are, and I've been a lot of negative ways, and the way I think about it is you're looking at a snippet of that person's life. Like right now, if you take a snippet of my life or your life, you would have an idea of me. You would say, hey, this guy's good. He's this, he's that. But if you took a snippet 5, 10, 20 years, you'd be like, hey, this guy's an asshole. I don't know about, Everybody changes. Everybody.
There's still people calling us that because they don't believe what we're saying.
Well, very much, right?
I've had people threaten my life for saying this.
Oh, a lot of.
I was like, I just block them. Next.
Well,
that's another thing. People fear what other people say. Like they first learn about this, they want it, they believe in it. They don't really know how to explain it too much, but then they'll tell their cousin, hey, Johnny, you should look at this. They go, that's communism. Don't even think I'll look at it. Okay, I won't look at it anymore. They disappear.
Exactly.
They tell me what they're going to do. Oh, I'll spend hours a day doing this and that and the other thing. And all of a sudden they disappear because their cousin says something to them. My father told me almost every day, you got to stop what you're doing. I hear you talking with all these people. You're going to get shot. I don't care. I'm going to tell the truth.
That's right, man. That's right. And
Martin Luther King, he knew he was going to get killed. Right?
Right.
He kept talking the truth. That guy was amazing.
Oh yeah, he was. And I mean, to try to put it in a description or whatever, I use it as my kind of shield. I mean, I feel like if I'm speaking what I know to be true and, what is true and right and fair and just and those types of things, if somebody else has a problem with it, that's their problem, not mine. They're the ones that need to, wake up, come around, whatever. And the same way people use, look at a religion and use that as their kind of, God's going to protect me. And that's fine if you want to think that. I feel the same way with truth.
Yep.
I feel like that is our savior as humanity. That's my savior as an individual. To understand that we all are one. There's a lot of us confused and things like that. I kind of relate it again to a hand. If you hold your hand up, all the fingers are attached to the same hand. We definitely all come from the same place, but we're all at different links, so to speak, of consciousness and understanding and stuff like that. And so I'm not mad at the other finger because it doesn't, it's lost or confused or hates me because I'm speaking the truth. I just see it as you're lost. That's it,
Well, even Martin Luther King, his only idea, he had the same mindset I had. We needed money. So he thought, well, we need a universal basic income. That don't stop the enslavement. You still need people working to keep things going. You're still enslaved. You still only have so much money to spend, so you still be living in poverty with a universal basic income. Now imagine if he had known about the no money world and how to do these co-ops and all that, and had all the people that followed him doing it.
Right.
The system would have collapsed so fast they wouldn't know what hit them.
Right, and that's why I think information and getting the word out and waking people up, so to speak, is so vital. because exactly if you're 90% right, and you're giving that all your energy and you're converting people to that 90%, but you're missing the important 10%, it's kind of going in the wrong direction, and yeah, the universal basic income, I mean, again, that's maybe some form of transitional, or things could be utilized, but you still have the other fact. The whole system and the market system is basically a couple pieces, and that's just one piece. Then you still have the price thing. Okay, so everybody gets automatic $20 an hour. Well, all they're going to do is raise the price of stuff.
That's right.
So now you're back to, so there's a lot of ways to control it. It's not just what you get. You have to give that.
Plus they want to give it to everybody. So even the people now who already make a living wage and more are going to receive this money. What are they going to do with it? They're going to spend it on more things, which is going to destroy the environment again. So we're back to the environment. But if we don't give it to everybody, the middle class is going to complain. They're going to go wild.
Well, and again,
why are they getting it $1,000 to sit at home while I go to work every day to make $20,000 a year?
Right, and it's the regulation of it, which I think is also the problem. Whether you're talking about universal basic income, who do you decide who gets it? Obviously, a multimillionaire doesn't need any extra money, so there has to be some line. So then you're cutting people out. The same way is happening now with Social Security, food stamps and people who really need assistance. They put a line. So in other words, if I'm dirt poor and I'm living off of ramen noodles out of a cardboard box, you'll give me a couple extra dollars. But if I'm working real hard and kind of doing okay, you'll say, well, you're all right enough. You only eat ramen noodles 3 days a week, so you don't need the money.
Now, yeah, those people might quit the jobs.
Exactly.
People are going to still need the jobs done. Suppose the robots aren't in there yet. Now we're hurting the rest of the world. Plus, that's kind of the people who do get the money. I know people who collect welfare, who've collected it all their life. They have no plan on getting a job.
Right.
So in that aspect, it's bad.
Right.
But it keeps them alive. But with a no-money world, it's not that they're lazy. They just don't want to go do a job they hate to survive. So they say, I might as well just take the money I'm making and live with what I can live in. Exactly.
I've personally known people that have done similar stuff. Been pregnant or found out they could get this assistance or that assistance. And exactly. They're like, well, hell, I'll just quit then and, have somebody provide my living.
In a sense, you're dumb not to. I mean, if you're working a minimum wage job and you don't get health coverage, yet if you're on welfare, you get the health coverage,
right,
you'd be an idiot to keep working your job.
Exactly, Michael. And that's another way I see the big picture of things is, fighting amongst ourselves. And because, somebody's going to work 40 hours a week, they get mad at this person. They call them names and call them lazy and call them, but granted, they might be those things, but you're not looking at the bigger picture. You hate this job. You are miserable coming to this job, but you're saying basically you are better because you're doing it. And this person is essentially playing the system that is enslaving you. Right. So, yeah, people in general, I don't like trying to group people a lot because you can never say everything about anything.
That's right.
Ever, whether you're talking people or a specific instance or whatever. But in general, at least from my experience, I see stuff like that a lot where, people will point fingers to, classic divide. But I think the same thing. So, this person that comes in and so-calls steals something because they didn't give this multi-million-dollar corporation some extra money for it, but then you come in and spend your whole paycheck on it. So who's right? Who's wrong? Who's dumb? Who's not? I don't, it's the big picture, man. But you have some websites that I know you're affiliated with. What are those?
The best bet to do right now when you're starting to learn this stuff is go to worklesshavemore.com.
Okay.
And also go to liveforfreeinrbe.com and watch the videos at both those sites. And those have most of the groups that are working on the no money world. And it starts getting your mindset. Another way to help your mindset is if you have a friend and you have time. I mean, if you're working 3 jobs, you're not going to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. But if you have time, If you have a friend that owns a business, say, hey, I want to come help you 1 day a week for free.
Right.
See, that's the mindset. Am I willing to work without expecting money? Now, he might still give you something. If you work at a restaurant, he might give you some food or something. That's fine, but you work for free. I did that for 6-7 years for a guy at a store. I went once or twice a week, 4 or 5 hours at a time. And the customers would say, well, you're the happiest person I've ever seen. He must pay you a lot. I say, I don't get paid. And they think I'm joking. I said, no, I don't take a pay from him. And they said, why not? I said, well, I'm trying to move to a no-money world. And I'm trying to have the mindset of a no-money world. Just saying, I was working for free to get towards the no-money world. And they would laugh at me. I had one group of people in there 1 week, and they're laughing. They're calling me Robot Man and all this stuff. Do me a favor. Go home tonight, go to YouTube, and look up self-driving 18-wheeler. I said, just do that. Go to YouTube, just look that up, and we'll talk next week. So they come in next week. Again, they're, hey, Robot Man, blah, blah, blah. Then one of the guys in there says, hey, I watched that video he told me to watch. There's a truck that drives without a driver. And they all shut up, and they're staring at the guy. Really? Yeah. They all shut up right there. I said, gee, what does that mean? There's going to be no more truck driving jobs? There's going to be no more taxi jobs? I said, keep calling me Robot Man. I don't mind. They're all stunned. They were in shock because one of them actually went to look. So he wanted to learn more. The other ones didn't want to learn. They just wanted to call me names.
Yeah, I think it's you have to want that, but in general, most people are followers. I mean, in my experience, I've encountered a lot of people in my life, man, a lot, in all different walks of life. In general, most people are followers, but it's like I say, that's not necessarily bad if you're following the right people, if you're listening to the right people.
And going in the right direction.
Exactly.
Because the right people, a lot of them are going in the wrong direction, even with transition, as we've talked about.
Right. And that's, again, just kind of reiterated. That's why I think it is so vital to, before anybody starts expending energy on a cause, if you're really a caring person, you would like to see everything change for the better. And if you feel that way, you should understand where the root cause of all the problems are. If there is such a thing, and of course there is, it's the money. And when you do understand that, and you start focusing your energy, I totally agree. And that's why I think it's so vital that you put your energy towards the best possible solution that you can do. It's almost like I try to compare it to if there's a dam with leaks, and you walk up and I'm going to help out, and you stick one little finger in one little hole. I mean, technically, yeah, you kind of, sort of, but if there was a solution, hypothetically, that you could just put up something or change the dam or whatever, and it would stop all the leaks, wouldn't that make more sense to spend your energy to that?
In today's economy, people think, but we need the jobs. We need those people putting their fingers in the hole.
Right, exactly. It's so entrenched, man. It really is, and in the mindset that I know exactly what you mean, and that's what I'm saying from my experience, and even talking to people in different fields. I mean, I have a family member who works in the Pentagon, and has had top security clearances and all these kinds of, so-called high prestige things. And it's funny because when I talk with them, they will say the same things. They complain about the same things. They say the same things about the inefficiency of the jobs and whatnot. And that's what I mean is you can change the job, you can change the situation, whatever, but it's the same thing over and over. And but so many people have that mindset of jobs. And just to finish with that, it's actually kind of funny because like we talked about earlier, people coming over and how people choose to look at things. This person has actually told me they agree with the wall because these people are going to come and take our jobs. And this is a person with a clearance in the Pentagon. And they literally have told me this. It's just...
Well, as someone else said, nobody takes your job. A capitalist hired them at less money. So it was the capitalist who hurt you.
Right.
The business owner is the one who did it, not the person who came here.
Exactly. Just like I was trying to explain a second ago about, people getting mad and pointing the finger at somebody who goes and gets assistance and they're not choosing to do a slave job. You're mad at them instead of being mad at the system that created you to be a slave and them to essentially have to play the system. It pits people against each other. And, capitalism, the bottom line is money. So if they can get somebody to do a cheaper job, and of course, that's one of the things that scares people and keeps them in their job. Well, I gotta work, kill myself, because if not, they're going to hire somebody else. And
that's the way the money system works. There's never enough money out in the economy to pay back all the loans that have been taken out.
Exactly.
So there's going to be homeless people. That's another thing I'll do with that money. When I made up the money, I'll get 10 people. We'll get chairs. We'll sit down and say, these chairs are your houses. You're going to come borrow $10,000 from me. So they each borrow $10,000, and you each owe me $11,000 at the end of the year. End of the year comes. Okay, everybody owes me 11. First guy, do you have 11? No, I only got 5. Well, I have them walk around with each other, do business. They hand each other money in different denominations and all that. It's just like they were living their life for a whole year. So a few minutes goes by. I say, okay, the year's over. I want my 11 grand. I go to the first guy. Okay, you owe me 11. He goes, I only got 5. I said, all right, give me the 5, and I take your chair. I take your house. Okay, go stand over there. You're a loser. Next person. How much you got? I got 12. Okay, give me 11. Thank you. Next person. How much you got? I got 3. Give me your 3. I take your house. You're a loser. Go with him. And I do that right down the line. I said, hello, this all happened because of something that's created out of thin air. It's a scam. Right. It's a con job. It's a lie. Wake up.
Right. Yeah, because of the imaginary money system, you're confiscating people's things that they've worked for and should have, and
you said about the game Monopoly. If we actually use the money that looked like Monopoly, if you were born into a world that used money that looked like Monopoly, that'd be normal to you.
That would be normal. Exactly.
If somebody showed you a dollar bill like we got now, we might use regular dollar bills that we have now in a Monopoly game.
Oh, exactly. And I've seen memes and things of that nature with that. And it shows a picture of a dollar and shows a picture of a Monopoly dollar and says the only difference between these two is your belief that one has value.
Neither of them does.
Neither does. That is literally what gives money currency its value, is the belief.
Belief.
That is it.
3 letters in belief, LIE.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. Michael, it's been great talking with you.
Great talking to an awakened person. I only meet him about once every 2-3 months.
Yeah, me too, actually. And that's another thing I mentioned to you and to listeners, that I had to move several reasons and different things. And actually, I moved because of the show. I was just renting a room and I was having a very hard time. I had to set everything up and take it down literally when I worked on anything. And so I thought, no, I want to focus on this. I want to devote my time to it. And so I moved. So I've been in kind of hiatus here for a little while.
So see, what you're doing is very important. What you and I do, what other people are doing, sharing this knowledge. It's not just about doing. Like, yeah, I could go out there and start a business and try and make it a co-op. I got to invest tens of thousands of dollars and hopefully make some money, because the people who come in don't have this mindset. They get the mindset they want to get paid. They pay every week. So I got to take that big risk. No, I can't do that big risk. There's not many people who can. Even as a group, there might be 20 of us together. And what if it costs $50,000 to open up a bakery? What if we don't have the money? Well, we can't open a bakery. That's why I say we have to work with existing businesses. If you're already a barber and you're already sitting in your chair doing nothing, waiting and hoping for people to come in, well, why don't you offer a free haircut today at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock, put it on Facebook. Tomorrow at 1, contact me. First person to contact me gets a free haircut. Now, when they come, I only have one request. You watch the 6-minute video when we're done. I'm going to cut your hair for free. Watch the 6-minute video. If you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. If you don't, fine. No problem. And it's almost like a lost leader for them. This is going to be people who are not their current customers, or even if they are, I guess it doesn't matter, but they only get one free haircut. Now, if they do something like teach martial arts or something, okay, if you offer me martial arts, I will continue cutting your hair and the rest of your family's hair at no charge.
Right.
Now we get the next person. Do you have any friends who own a business? Well, I know my wife's a yoga teacher. Great. Bring her in. Let's show her this video. Okay, you're going to do yoga classes. He's going to do martial arts. I'm going to do all the hairstyling. Amongst ourselves, we still charge other people. Yeah. Well, I have a friend who does nails. Okay, great. Well, why don't you and your friend who has the nails, why isn't she working out of your salon? To the person who's a barber or a hairstylist. Get your friend who's a nail person in your salon. Now you're sharing the expenses. And maybe they can't afford it right now. Well, you're still paying. You can afford the building. See, it's mindset. If you're saying, wait a minute, I'm paying all the bills here. Why should I give them a free space? You don't have the mindset.
Right.
You're giving them the free space to get them going to build up a clientele of people. We can give free nail services to people. She could sit there just one day a week, give nothing but free nail services. What's she getting out of it? Free rent the rest of the week.
Right.
See? And that's how you start. And now you get somebody else in there. Maybe somebody does eyebrows. Instead of being in the mall somewhere paying $1,000 a month, they come in your shop. Now you got a nail person. You got an eyebrow person. You're doing the hairstyling. Maybe you bring a barber in next. Maybe you bring a masseuse in next. And you all use the same building instead of all paying $1,000 a month out there, feeding the beast. But that's how you start. It starts a little bit like trade and barter, but then it becomes Ubuntu contributionism when there's enough people involved.
Exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. And, that's ultimately with this show, that's, like you said, it's nice talking with somebody that's awake and understanding. I totally agree. And I've, been contacting people to try to, have on the show. And
I'll get you a bunch of people. I know a lot of the top No Money World people.
Yeah, that would be, it really would be great, not only to talk with them, but the response that I've gotten actually from a couple other people is that they say, it's nice to talk to somebody like that, and I just want that. I want to have open discussions about it. I want it to, of course, to try to just put the awareness out there and make more people aware, and hopefully change the perspective. I mean, that's ultimately what the show is intended to be about, is to make people think and change their perspective of thinking. Kind of like you say, the mindset. That's sort of been the theme throughout this, and I couldn't agree more that is fundamental to having, any real change take place. Obviously, it starts from the bottom up and those types of things, but it is mindset, and ultimately that's what I'm going for here. It's totally about all of us on the planet.
Absolutely.
I more than welcome any feedback, response, on my show's page and other forms where you can listen to the show. I have contact information, email, Twitter, all that good stuff. And that's what I want. I want the openness and to make this more of a common topic and discussion instead of just a few people knowing and talking about it in small circles, and I know it is happening on a grander scale, but I want to be a part of that. I want to do what I feel like I can do to contribute to that. And
I'll give you another example of sharing. A ski house. There's one up in New Hampshire. It has 34 beds in it. So 34 people all bought the house together, and it fits them all in there at once if they all want to come up the same weekend, maybe on a holiday or something. And they all share in cooking. They grow some food outside. They usually go up every weekend, even in the summer. If they take their whole week vacation or 2-week vacation, they'll go spend it up at the ski house, painting the house, cleaning it, taking care of the yard. And they all own it. It's co-owned.
Right.
Now that's part of the transition. Imagine if we just had those 34 single people. It's going to be a little tough, but you just knocked out 34 one-bedroom apartments from being rented.
Right.
So you got to be willing to sacrifice a little bit in the beginning. Like right now, I got 2 homeless people living with me.
Oh, wow.
I do it because they don't have any money. They're friends of my nephew and my niece. What are you going to do? Going to let them stay out the street? Let them stay in the house. What am I going to do? Now, they're not starving the system. They're not getting free rent somewhere from the government, who's taking it from our taxes. It helps starve the beast. Same thing like I said about the car. We have 1 car in the family. I used to have 3, down to 1.
Well, I mean, that, again, in a nutshell, is a simple way I try to explain in general to people about that, how the system is the most efficient, basically, you can have right now. Whereas if you look like that, for example, the sharing of cars, like the Zip car and those types of things, that is the way of the future. Not everybody, I don't need a car sitting outside when I'm not going anywhere.
I don't even want a car anymore. I like cars. If there's a place, maybe a track we can go drive on once in a while, fine. But I don't want to even drive anymore.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a van come pick me up, take me to the gym. Then later on I call in, I get on the phone, pick me up. Even if it takes 10 minutes, so what? Now I know I have no more bills for a car. My girlfriend, my niece, and my nephews haven't made. They have no bills for the car. I got the bills.
Yeah, right. Well, like I try to use like a lawnmower, for example. If you have 10 townhomes in a row, what you have now is 10 different homes need a lawnmower.
That's right.
Whereas that makes absolutely no sense. It's the most wasteful. Everybody has stuff to fix when it you have one or two lawnmowers that shared between those. And essentially, that's what it is in a nutshell. I understand that,
and each 10 families takes turns each week cutting the grass. So you're only cutting grass once every 10 weeks. Maybe you're doing it twice a season in a colder area.
Right.
5 times in a warm area. So you only cut grass 5 times, and your grass was cut 52 weeks. It's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is. It's just sharing. The system cannot handle us sharing. It can't handle it.
Well, no, because one of the key components of a market system is constant consumption,
Constant, never-ending use.
Never ending, right. You have to keep buying more and fixing, which is, another arm of the inefficiency of, products are made to break. And that's why you have multi-billion-dollar, auto repair, computer repair, those types of things, because in a monetary system, you say, well, that's good. That's good, because now look at all these extra people who now have a job.
But it hurts the person who buys it. Like my friend owns an auto body mechanic shop. The mirror on the back of the car, it was either the back or the front, the sensor, for his cost was over $2,000 for that sensor.
Insane.
Now he would have to charge the next person like $2,500 to make a couple of $100 on it to keep his business going. When it's already made.
Right.
Like John Fresco said, he's in the middle of the depression. He goes in the store, the shelves are full.
Exactly.
What's keeping people from getting what they need? Fake money.
Yeah, the depression is a key example that can be used to try to get the point across of how money is totally imaginary and it's destructive and it's controlling and everything else. Because, right, prior to, of course, in the 1920s, when the banks came up with the scheme and they lent out all the money at low interest rates and those types of things. So you had what was known as the Roaring '20s, and people were buying everything because this imaginary money was being handed out. And then they contracted all the loans and raised the interest rates and whatnot. And that's what caused the smaller banks to go out and get bought up pennies on the dollar. And so they consolidated their power and control. And, because of that, they did a 2-in-1. They not only did that, but then that's how they got the Federal Reserve enacted, because they said, look, we need a central thing so this doesn't happen again. Right. And then you look at the Great Depression, which was, slightly after that, and you had all these. Nothing changed, no resource changed, the labor force, the machines to build the stuff, to create the stuff, to produce and transport. Absolutely nothing changed.
Another thing Jacques Fresco says, and I ask people, if there was no money in the world tomorrow, could we still build a house? Most people still say no. That's the mindset of money. I'll say, why? Well, there's no money. Yeah, what does that mean? Well, nobody's going to work if they don't get paid. All right, well, so what will happen? If nobody's going to work if they don't get paid in a no money world, what's going to happen to people? They're just going to die? Is that what's going to happen? Are you just going to die because there's no more money? Or are you going to grow food? Even if it's just for yourself, you're going to grow food. They don't know how to answer you.
Right.
But they're literally saying you would die if this money did not exist.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've heard that. And it's just the, entrenchment of the belief that money has value. and again, just being an open-minded, understanding person, on some ways I get why they think that, because this is, again, what they brought up. This is what their parents and their everybody around them is saying, and those types of things. But the way I do it myself, and I try to tell people is, just if you look at anything independently of itself, kind of like you're saying, the only question really should be, is there enough resources? If the answer is no, you're stuck right there. You have to figure out, well, what can we do? Is it possible? Blah, blah, blah. If the answer is yes, you go on to the next step.
That's right.
Okay. Well, the next step would be, can we distribute them to all the people? Do we, this and that's essentially that in a common sense, just, fair world. Essentially, that's how it would be done. And I actually, again, wrote a piece on that.
Again, we go back to family. If you've got a family and there's 10 people in the family, do you not give one of them an orange? Or do you cut the oranges up so that they all have oranges if they want oranges? If they don't want oranges, maybe half of them want oranges. Well, maybe they can each get an orange. This is in the money system.
Right.
What I like about Ubuntu, they said this guy went to Africa and there was all these starving kids, and he said, I have this basket of fruit. I'm going to put it down there about 100 feet. The first one of you that runs down there and gets it gets to eat it all. So he puts the fruit down. He says, okay, ready, set, go. They look at each other. They hold hands. They walk to the fruit. They sit around it, and they start eating it together.
Mm-hmm.
That's Ubuntu.
Exactly.
And that's a great thing to end on.
It is. And to even add an extra little note to that, because I know the story you're talking about, the kid, they asked him, why didn't you run? And he said, and one of them replied, well, how can one of us be happy if the rest of us are sad?
Exactly.
And that is ultimately
that's Ubuntu. That's
it is
basically love. If you want to look at it, Ubuntu is love.
Right. It's love, compassion, caring, and understanding.
For all.
Exactly, Michael. And that is a great note to end on. Again, man, great conversation, and I really appreciate you being on here and taking so much time to talk with me. And we will be in touch further in general, and for some of these other people that I can talk with, and so I really appreciate your time, man, and all your insight and knowledge that you've shared with us.
I appreciate what you're doing. It's like talking to a mirror of myself. There's very few of them out there.
It is, and let me just say this too, real quick. I've noticed when I do get in contact with people that are really understanding and awake in those things, it's really cool because you instantly actually are on the same page. You do instantly have that connection and understanding.
And there's going to be things we don't agree on.
Of course.
I have my best friend. We've known each other like 35 years or more. We've never once had an argument. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Never even entered our mind. Now, I was an orphan, and he grew up in a foster home.
I see.
So we both care about people. We both look at the world the same way. Everybody's our brother and sister. I can't see anybody getting hurt. I don't even like boxing. I don't like hockey. I don't like any kind of contact sport. Some guy just died from a brain injury in boxing. And I made a post about it, and I said, but I want to watch boxing. I like it. I don't care what happens to the people doing it.
Right.
What mindset is that? I mean, that's an animal mindset, and even animals won't just attack you for no reason. They either want food or they're trying to protect what they think is their area, even though there's no ownership.
Yeah, that's... I believe me, I could keep talking about this stuff.
I talk about it all day.
Okay, yeah, Michael, sounds great, man. Thank you again so much for everything.
All right, Alan.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, again, want to thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. If you go in the description, you should find a link to my show's homepage with my contact info. Please feel free to email, follow, share, comment, like, subscribe. I welcome any and all feedback or support. And I hope you'll tune in next time for another episode of the All Real Show. We are one.